Good day. Today I will try to give you a brief summary on graphs. And this is a long chapter, so we will not be able to cover it during extra classes. So I've summarized the graphs and we can do the examples after listening to the summary. And today the graphs that we will cover the linear graphs, we'll cover the quadratic graph, which is a parabola, and we'll cover the hyperbola. I have summarized all the key concepts that will enable you to complete the exercises with success. The exclusion on this one is the exponential graphs. Okay, so let's start with linear graphs. There are two equations for linear graph. The first one is y is equal to mx plus c, where c is your y-intercept and m is your gradient. The second equation is y minus y1 equals to m multiplied by x minus x1, okay, where m is still your gradient. X1 is the x coordinate on the point that you are given, and y1 is the y coordinate on the point that is given to you. Now, the key thing, this is applicable to all the graphs, not only the linear graphs. All the graphs that we will cover today, straight line graph, parabola, and hyperbola. This is the key. First, how do we find the x-intercept? For you to find the x-intercept, you take the equation that you are given, you let y equals to 0, then you solve for x, like the normal way where you solve equations. Okay, now second point, it's finding the y-intercept. You take the very same equation that they give you, you let x equals to 0, then you can solve for y. Okay, and after you have solved, you have found your x-intercept and y-intercept, you must write your intercepts in coordinate format. So for example, let's say here you were solving for x, you found x to be 2 and x to be 3. So you need to write 2 points. So you will have 2 is to 0 because y is 0, and you will have 3 is to 0. Similar here, if you are trying to find your y-intercept, you see that you find that your y-intercept is minus 3, for example. You write it in coordinate format. You know that in your y-coordinate, x is equal to 0. Therefore, your coordinate format will be, let's say y was minus 3. Your coordinate format will be 0 is to minus 3. Okay. Now, how do we determine the shape of the linear graph? You look at your gradient. If your gradient is greater than 0, by now we know that greater than 0 is positive. Then your graph will be sloping up. Your gradient is less than 0, which means your gradient is negative. Your graph will be sloping down. Now, how do we find the equation for the straight line? Okay, so there are two cases, right? You will either be given, on the first case, you will either be given the gradient and the y-intercept. That is the easiest one because you will use the equation y equals to mx plus c, which is our first equation here. Then you will substitute c for your y-intercept, okay, and you will substitute m for your gradient. Then you have the equation, okay. You go back, you write it in the form of y equals to mx plus c. Second case, you may be given a gradient and 1 point, okay. So you use this equation, which is y minus y1 equals to m into x minus x1, okay. Then you substitute for y1, x1, and m. Should you be given 2 points, you can still calculate m, okay, and use one of the points. Then you substitute m, y, and y1 and x1. Then you write your equation in the form of y equals to mx plus c at the end of the day. That is it for linear functions. Thank you.